let's get into the basics, shall we? So I start this video off, man, saying goodbye to a dear friend. Nah, I just upgraded finally, guys. So if you didn't know, I've started with this camera right here. I actually started with a Nikon, but this is our friendly Canon Rebel T6. Now I have the long lens on it right now. This is our 75 to 300 stock lens. And what came with it, I don't have it right next to me, is an 18 to 35 stock lens. And that's all I was able to start with. I've used this camera for self-portraits, portraits for other people that's inside the studio and outside the studio. Yes, I use this camera in the studio. So this is to show you guys that you do not need the best quality camera to shoot, period. Like I said, I've done a whole bunch of different stuff. I've done my first video on this camera. Like I said, all of my first, shoots were on this camera. And even shoots after a couple years, I've had to use this camera. I had my camera stolen from me twice. Twice, guys. Twice. And I've had to resort back to using this camera and still take professional, high quality images. And do you think that stopped me? No, it did not. But why didn't it stop me? Because I understood my camera settings. I understood how to operate with this camera first. And then I moved on to things like this Sony A7C and the Sony FX3 and FX30 and my Canon RP and Canon R5, Canon R6, the different stuff that I've used many cameras over the years, and I've had to restart so many times. And I've learned that the only way that I was able to do these things was because I used this Canon Rebel T6 first. Learned the camera settings, learned how to operate it, learned how to do everything with it. Got all the equipment on the side that I needed to make everything look more high quality, and I put in the work. So this is to tell you that you need to do the same, and this is exactly where we're gonna start, right here with our Canon Rebel T6. All right, let's get into camera settings, man. So the first thing that you're gonna look at on your camera settings is your ISO. Now, let's just consider your ISO your brightness. This is I'm gonna break it down and dumb it down to you. You can of course go Google all this information, but I'm gonna break it down and kind of dumb it down to how I've came to understand it. So my ISO is my brightness. So when my ISO is very low at 100%, it's not a lot of brightness that I'm allowing into this camera, but I don't need to, because this is when you're outside and you have a whole lot of light. This is when, like, say you're in the sun, something like that, or even when you're in the studio, your ISO needs to be at 100 in order for you to control the lights the best. But we'll get into that when we get into another lesson. But like I said, your ISO is your brightness, so you're gonna look at that first. So when you look at your camera, turn this on, you look at your ISO, you're gonna see how bright you need it or how dark you really need it. So the higher it is, the brighter it is. The lower it is, the darker it is. That's, again, just kind of dumbing it down. Go look up these definitions so you can actually have a better understanding, and we'll be going over it in our crash course meetings and our one-on-ones, but that is basically what you're going to look at first. After you look there, you're going to look at your shutter speed. So that's where it says 1/125, 160, 200, etc. You're going to look at that shutter speed because you don't want that shutter speed too high or too low. That's literally the shutter speed. So say you were taking a picture and it was absolutely low, your shutter speed is going to be very low. It's going to be like, but as you get higher, it's going to be able to, and then that's how much you're kind of capturing when you're taking the picture. So if you ever taken a picture and say you had something moving and it was at a low shutter speed and you took it and you saw the motion blur, that's because the shutter was taking it so slow that it captured this, and all it captured was the motion and then the hand, rather than just if you had it higher and it captured all of this, and it can capture boom, it can capture boom, it can capture boom. So again, I'm dumbing this down because this is the best way that I was able to understand it. Go look up these definitions. I'm actually going to post the definitions right here below as well, but I'm dumbing this down so that you can kind of understand it visually. So like I said, you do not want a low shutter speed unless that is the style that you're shooting for and you want a motion blur. Now, you're knowing these things and understanding these things because you can play with these things. I've seen a lot of people take pictures using a low shutter speed because that's how they want it. They wanted that motion blur, they wanted that motion effect, and even when they're doing video, they wanted that blur and they wanted that effect as well. But it is very, very, very important that you know the medium. You know where to kind of set the standard at so that you're not overdoing it or underdoing it. So that's why I say 1/125 all the way up to 1/200 is where you need to be at. That's for photo and that's for video as well. That's the standard of where your shutter speed should be at, because it's going to be able to capture everything that you're shooting. Now, what will affect that will be your ISO and then also your aperture. Your aperture is the f-stop. The f-stop is where it says f 3.5, 4.0, 5.6, etc. Now, that is basically for me how much I'm getting into my frame. So say my aperture was at 2.8. The focus would be me and everything around me will be more so blurred out because I am the focus and this is where your aperture is focused on. Now, when you open that up a little bit more, you're going to be able to see me and this and everything in the back. So say somebody came next to me, they wouldn't be blurry, they would be captured in the picture as well if you're taking a picture or if you're doing a video. You'll notice it a lot when you're doing video, you'll notice it a lot more, and you'll notice it when you take the picture, but you mainly won't notice it while you're doing it until you kind of go over these things. I can give you again exact definitions since we're going to sit right here. I'm going to do exact definitions just so you guys don't think I'm crazy. Going over aperture is the adjustable opening in your camera lens measured in f-stops that controls the amount of light reaching the sensor directly, affecting the image brightness and the depth of field. So like I said, that depth that you're going to get around is important, and that's why I said that blur that you see in the back, that's your depth of field. So if you were lower, like 2.8, 2.0, anything like that, I would be the focus and then everything else would be blurred behind me. But you turn that up and open it up a little bit more, you're gonna start seeing that things around are also in focus and in frame as well. Now, going into ISO, just to give exact definition, a camera setting that controls your sensor's sensitivity to light directly affecting image brightness. Like I said, that's your brightness. And then lastly, to go into shutter speed, like I said, same thing, real easy. These are all things you could just look up yourself. The duration the camera shutter remains open to let light strike the sensor, typically measured in fractions of a second. So 1/1000 to 30 seconds. It is a key element of the exposure triangle, controlling both exposure brightness and motion effects. Like I said, fast speeds, freeze actions, slow motions, motion blurs, long exposure effects, etc., etc. All of those things are very, very important when you're understanding your camera settings, because that's how you know what to do with your camera to create whatever you're trying to create. Those things are very, very important. Again, these are all things you can go look up. I also have a guide sitting in our crash course classroom section on the Creators Hub, sorry. If you haven't joined the Creators Hub, make sure you click the link below in the description. But that's where I have all the camera settings, camera fundamentals, etc. I have everything in a PDF file for you guys, but of course you can go look these things up as well. And of course you're going to be going over it on this video. So we're going to be having a Zoom meeting over these same exact things on Sunday. So if you have not joined the Creators Hub, make sure you join the Creators Hub so you can join the Zoom meeting to go over these things one-on-one with me, because I know this may have sounded like a lot. It may actually be kind of mumble jumble, because like I said, this is how I visually am able to not only show somebody else but even show myself, because those are the main things I look at. I look for the brightness first, then I look at the speed I want my shutter to be, then I look at the depth of field that I need for the shot, and then I get the shot. It's real easy and it's real simple once you kind of understand what these settings do for you. So like I said, if you want to go over actual dictionary definitions, make sure you look it up. If not, make sure you watch over this video and go get our PDF file ebook so that you can actually see these things as well. I'll be posting a lot more videos to kind of show these things in studio, outside studio, you know, for certain shoots. But as of right now, this is your crash course on camera settings and camera operations. If you have any questions, of course, leave the comments in the bio, leave the comments below. I'm sorry. And make sure when you join the Creators Hub, add it to your discussion board. Just any questions, comments, concerns, add it to your discussion board so we can go over. But it was good talking to y'all about camera settings and operations. Hopefully you learned something today. If you did, make sure you leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow. And make sure you join the Creators Hub if you haven't already. And we'll be seeing y'all in the next video. Peace.